channel. I'm Rachel, the owner and creator here at the Eclectic Cottage in Spokane, Washington. Happy Saturday. I'm sorry for the lateness of my video. Today was my big fall event, and unfortunately I just, with everything, kind of ran out of time to finish up my video earlier today like I'd hoped. So I'm trying to get it out as quickly as I can. I did manage to get together 3 kind of simple Christmas themed thrift flips for you guys. I hope you like them as much as I do. And without further ado, let's get to today's projects. Ever since I bought these 2 little wooden plaques at the Dollar Tree, I've known I wanted to try out some of the newer Redesign with Prima transfers on them. So I am painting these to get them ready for that. I decided to go with a neutral background, and so I'm painting the fronts of these with 2 coats of faded burlap by DIY. And then I'm carefully going around the edge with DIY's weathered wood to give it a little bit of contrast. Once I had both coats of paint on and they were completely dry, I went ahead and sealed my plaques with a coat of Rust-Oleum 2X clear matte enamel spray. This dries really quickly, so I should be able to apply my transfers the same day. So this is the transfer set I'm going to be using in today's projects. It's called Joyful Jingles by Redesign with Prima. It's got tons of cute little images that are perfect for small items like these plaques. So I chose this Santa and I peeled off the backing, laid him down, and then began using my transfer stick to apply. At the bottom of the Santa, I used my thumbnails to just push the parts of the transfer that were a little too big for the front down into the grooves, just kind of carefully stair-stepping down, making sure that I had everything applied before I started lifting up that piece of vellum. This transfer went down really easily. You can see here I was able to just pull that piece of vellum right up, and then I was able to move on to my next transfer. I loved this Christmas tree, and so I used it for the second plaque. And again, I'm just using my fingernails to kind of gently push that transfer down into the grooves of the side of the plaque and make sure that it's adhered all the way down before I start peeling back that piece of vellum. And then I'm just using the transfer stick to rub the transfer down while I peel that vellum back, making sure that all of my transfer is adhered to the front of my plaque. And if any of it lifts up with the vellum, I just place that back down, re-rub that area until all of my transfer is adhered. Then I took a little piece of the vellum and burnished both of my transfers in really well before I moved on to sealing them. Now, in most cases, you're going to want to protect your transfer by sealing it with something. So I am using DIY's Big Top, and I am going over the entire plaque just so that it all has the same finish. Once that was completely dry, I really thought these plaques still needed a little something, and I racked my brain and decided to grab out my Decor wax by Redesign with Prima. This one's called Eternal. It's a beautiful gold, and just go around the rim of these plaques with that Eternal just to bring out some of the detail and add a little pop of gold to these. I think it was a perfect finishing touch for these plaques. Lastly, it was time to seal the backs of these, and for that, again, I'm just using a good coat of DIY's Big Top. Once that was done, these little plaques were finished. I absolutely love how they came out, and I hope you guys do too. As I was looking around for more things to put transfers on, I realized I have quite a few ball jars. And I thought about just placing transfers on them and leaving the glass plain. But then I decided to go ahead and paint these guys first. So I am using DIY's Crinoline to paint both of these jars. I ended up having to give them each 3 good coats. I'm sure just because the surface is so slick. The third coat really wasn't a full coat. It was mainly just to cover up a few shadows that were still showing through. Now, as I've stated before, DIY paint is clay-based, it's porous, and can be reactivated with water, so you always want to seal it. For these, I decided to go again with DIY's Big Top. It's a nice, durable sealer. It does have a little bit of a sheen to it, but for these jars, I really didn't mind. So I just gave them each 1 good coat of DIY's Big Top and set them aside to dry. Now, I do have to admit I was a little concerned that my transfers might pull the paint off of the glass when I went to apply them. So I let these jars sit and dry overnight before I applied the transfers. And again, I'm just using a couple of the images from the Joyful Jingles transfer set by Redesign with Prima here. I can't tell you how easy these went down. I did a lot of the work with my thumbnails rather than using the transfer stick, and they went down like a dream. Once I had both of my transfers applied, again, I'm just using some Big Top to go over the top of them to seal them and keep them protected. Once that was done and dry, I decided they needed a little something more. So I grabbed some lace out of my stash and just wrapped that around the neck of both of the jars, tied a double knot really tight, and then I grabbed a couple of little pieces of bling out of my stash as well. That I found on Amazon some time ago, and I used my hot glue gun to just put each of those right over the knot on each of the jars, and then they were finished. I love how these came out, and I cannot wait to do some more. My third and final project is this very boring little tote. I've had this in my stash for a while, and I decided to dress up the front of it. I was going to use this beautiful mold by Redesign with Prima. This one's called Imperial Intricacy. Now, I've seen people use these mica powders in their mold before, and so I thought I'd give it a shot here. So I'm using some gold mica powder and just applying that to my mold with a brush. Then I'm mixing up some 2-part casting resin. This is amazing casting resin. And I am pouring that very carefully into my mold. And you can see the blue mat underneath my mold. That's actually a leveler so that I know that my casting resin is going to go in there smoothly and make a nice even impression. While that was curing up, I went ahead and moved back over to working on the tote. I knew what color I wanted to paint this, but it was kind of chippy and had a little bit of damage. So I did sand it down a little just to kind of clean it up, and then I wiped it out really well with a shop towel. Once I had that all done, I grabbed out Little Black Dress by DIY and began painting. Now, DIY paint is highly pigmented, and in this case, since I was going over white with black, it only took 1 coat of paint. Then I went back to my mold to retrieve my casting, and as I pulled it out, I realized that I had not used quite enough of the mica powder in the mold. It had still a little bit of white shining through. So I was a little disappointed, but I figured that's okay. I will just go ahead and paint it to match the front of the box. So I went over the whole casting with a coat of Little Black Dress. Once that was done and the paint was completely dry, I placed it on the front of the tote. I realized that my casting was just a little bit too long for my tote, so I just kind of figured out where I needed to cut, and I grabbed my scissors and just snipped off the very end of each side. Then I used some Titebond Quick and Thick and just put a little bit of that on the back of the casting, using my fingers to smooth it out into a nice even coat. And then I placed my casting onto the front of my tote. Once I had my casting placed on the front of my tote, I went ahead and grabbed a clamp and just clamped it down so that it would stay in place until the glue was nice and dry. Now I did have a little bit of glue that squeezed out from underneath the casting in a couple places, so I just went over those with another coat of Little Black Dress. I needed to paint the ends of the casting anyway where I'd snip them off. Once that was done and it was completely dry again, it was time to seal my paint. Now, I decided to go with DIY's clear wax for this, and my big brush was a little bit hard to get into the inside of the box. I think this is why sometimes I choose to seal insides of boxes with Big Top rather than with wax, but I managed to get it done, and then I am wiping back the excess with my dry shop towel. So just making sure that I get a nice even coat of that clear wax over the entire box, just brushing that on and then wiping back the excess with that dry shop towel. I really had to kind of work it to get it into all the little nooks and crannies in the casting itself. Lastly, I grabbed out that gold Decor wax by Redesign with Prima called Eternal, and with my fingertips, I just applied some to the detail in my casting. This really made this box shine, and I absolutely love the effect of the gold and black together. guys. I hope you liked my simple Christmas makeovers. They were a lot of fun to make. And I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up. I so appreciate that. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and then just hit the little notification bell so you don't miss anything. And then don't forget to drop a comment below and let me know what you thought of my Christmas themed makeovers. Just a quick reminder, the paint and products you saw me use today can be purchased through me at my website, and that's www.theeclecticcottagespokane.com. I still do have a few of those joyful Jingles transfer sets left. And while we're on the subject, I also did get my Recycled Treasures decoupage paper order, and there are some of the new papers in there. I am hoping to get those uploaded to my website tomorrow, so keep a lookout for those. And then also Redesign with Prima announced that they are coming out with some new products, hopefully sometime at the beginning of October, so also stay tuned for that. Anyway, you guys, I am planning on trying to continue doing some flips in my kitchen for Wednesday's video, so I hope you'll come back and see me on Wednesday. Until then, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your weekend and beginning of the week. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye.